I'm Tamara Fields Parsons, President and CEO of the Tennessee Center for Performance Excellence, and I'm delighted to welcome you to our 2021 Virtual Excellence Conference and Celebration. Our conference theme is Be Excellent, and I believe you will find many ideas, practices, and resources today to help you be excellent. This seems like a good time to share a little information about TNCPE. Our vision at TNCPE is to strengthen Tennessee's economic and organizational health. Our mission is to be a trusted partner and regional resource in achieving performance excellence. I wanted to highlight a couple items in the mission, and that is trusted partner and regional resource. In order to be the trusted partner and regional resource, TNCPE does three things. We do a lot of things, but they're in three buckets. We connect you to resources, we offer support like training and coaching, and we provide a stair-step assessment and award program to give you feedback to help you prioritize your improvements and innovations. Check out our website at www.tncpe.org for more information, or give us a call. We love to talk about performance excellence. So here's an overview of today's schedule, and you have, of course, a detailed overview in your conference agenda on the conference website. Before we move on to our keynote presentation this morning, I want to thank our sponsors, because it is our sponsors that helped make this virtual platform conference a reality for all of us. Caterpillar Financial Services, Tennessee Valley Authority, Bristol, Tennessee Essential Services, Tricor, First Horizon Bank, Caris Healthcare, and East Tennessee State University School of Business and Technology. Now I'd like to welcome Dr. Michael Ugwecki, CEO of Methodist Le Bonheur Healthcare, 2021 recipient of the Baldrige Foundation's Harry Hertz Leadership Award, and TNCPE board member. Dr. Ugwecki will introduce this morning's keynote.
Thank you, Tamara, and good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the TNCPE Excellence Conference. I am truly honored to introduce our first two speakers. Our speakers are from Best Upon Request, which is based in Cincinnati, Ohio. In business since 1989, Best Upon Request is a certified minority and women business enterprise and Corporate Plus member of the National Minority Supplier Development Council, providing on-site concierge services to organizations nationwide. Best helps employees save time and decrease stress, resulting in an increased engagement and commitment to their employer. For healthcare clients, Best also takes care of patients' non-medical needs to improve the patient experience. With more than 50 on-site offices in 11 states, Best serves customers in 20 states and Puerto Rico. First is Tilly Hidalgo Lima. Tilly is the CEO of the Best Upon Request. Born in Cuba, Tilly and her parents, Matilda and Alberto, escaped in 1961 to find freedom in the United States. Coming with only 10 pesos, her parents taught her resourcefulness and determination. They became U.S. citizens in 1969. After graduating from the University of Cincinnati, Tilly was a pharmacist for 13 years before coming to Best as Vice President of Operations. She became president and CEO in 2003 and created a board of advisors in 2005. Tilly and her husband, Dave, have 3 daughters, 2 sons-in-laws, and 5 grandchildren. She lives by her values of the 7 F's: faith, family, friends, fitness, financial strength, freedom, and fun. I like the fun part. Tilly is a member of St. Elizabeth Healthcare Board of Trustees and was a former board member of the United Way of Greater Cincinnati, as well as Legatus. Next is Bill Mills. Bill Mills is the president and COO of Best Upon Request. Bill joined the Best Upon Request team in 2012, where he serves as the president and chief operating officer. Bill's focus is on strategy and the convergence of people and processes. He is passionate about leading Best Upon Request on a continuous improvement journey. Bill began his career at Hitachi Automotive Products USA, where he spent 13 years developing as a leader, continuous improvement practitioner, and executive. During this time, Bill led the development of systems, processes, and robust quality controls that drove his team to the highest levels of success, profitability, and quality recognition, rewarded by major auto manufacturers like General Motors, Honda, Nissan, and Toyota. The challenging question for any organization is, how do you execute within the organization? At Best Upon Request, they discovered that transparency, accountability, grace, and clear expectations laid the groundwork for role and soul clarity. It is critical for performance excellence and resilience. In this keynote, Tilly and Bill will share their journey of excellence through a pandemic and how their culture ensured resilience. Ladies and gentlemen, you are all in for a treat this morning. Please welcome Tilly Hidalgo Lima and Bill Mills. Thank you.
Michael, thank you so much for that amazing introduction. And Tamara, thank you for hosting us in this virtual conference. It's a real honor to be here, and we're looking forward to sharing our journey with you. All right, here we go. So here's our first slide. As Michael explained, we're going to explain to you how role and soul clarity drove our resilience during the pandemic. This is a picture of my family. The 3 daughters, our 3 daughters are Jessie and Josh, who have 3 children, Grace, Sam, and Lucas. Jessie is our VP of Marketing and Communications. Natalie is our VP of People and Culture, and she and her husband, Mike, have 2 children, Frankie and Teddy. And Sophia is our new role energizer as a sales enablement. And all 3 of the girls and I work in the business with our corporate team. Dave, my husband, was the founder of our company, and he is in a support role to help ensure our success as a family. And as you heard, the 7 F's, family to me is so important. And it's very common in Spanish culture, and that family, it comes first. So you'll hear a lot about our best family as well.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Bill Mills. I'm the president and COO at Best Upon Request, and it's a pleasure to be with you again this year. Tilly and I were able to share last year with you during day one of the conference. And I jokingly mentioned to Tamara's husband about a week ago that either she invited us back for a redo or we must have done something right. I'm not sure, and I don't really want to know, but we're pleased to be here either way. I wanted to give you an update on my family as well. Since a year ago when we shared a little bit about our stories, I'm going to start with this picture in the bottom right. During the last 12 months, I had a daughter graduate from physician assistant school. I had two younger kids with special needs learn how to drive a boat and spend some time on the lake. I had two older daughters who were both engaged in the past year, one of which is already married and another of which will be married in about 2 weeks. And so Joshua, Bailey, Biana, and Micaiah have had a busy year, and their mother and I have been very busy just trying to keep up with everything going on while we've been trying to keep the family safe and the younger kids and the grandparents as isolated as possible. And it's kind of interesting. I jokingly said my wife, to maintain her sanity over the past year, took up jumping on a pogo stick. And no, she has no idea I'm showing a picture of her jumping on a pogo stick this morning, but it's great to be with you.
So as you heard from the introduction, Best Upon Request is a concierge service. In reality, we are solution providers to ensure that your organizations are successful and are performing at their peak. We've been in business 30 years, and of those 30 years, our focus has been the last 20 years on healthcare. And so what we like to say is that we are a high touch and a high tech organization. The high touch is how we care for others, and the high tech is how technology enhances the work that we do. We like to say augment our humanity, because it's that eye to eye, heart to heart is how we approach the way that we serve. The national scope is coast to coast, and we're very honored to be a Great Place to Work certified company, because we like to walk the talk of what our clients and their journeys of excellence are on. And it's a real honor also to be minority and women owned certified.
So when you think about what we do, we wanted to give you just a brief overview of the kind of work that we do as a company to contextualize some of the results and the information we're going to share with you today. So we are the ultimate employee benefit. Companies who hire us allow us to serve their employees and to give them the gift of time. So we run errands, we plan vacations, we do all types of things from the planned to the unplanned. We can respond to the emergency situation someone may have, or we can plan to get their oil changed 2 weeks from now. It is, again, a service that supports employees of companies, but our real focus is the impact that we can have through that effort. So we have a positive impact on many things, ranging from engagement to retention, recruitment of top talent, enhancing productivity, and ultimately ensuring the wellness of people who use our service.
And I like to say, as a pharmacist, that we are an anxiolytic. So an anxiolytic is a medication that helps reduce anxiety. And with what happened last year and the extreme fatigue, as Tamara was mentioning, the burnout, the moral injury, the uncertainty, the isolation, our service was critical to our customers.
In addition to being an employee benefit, we are a guest benefit in hospital systems. And so we partner with hospital clients to elevate their patient experience. I'm showing you this slide for a couple of reasons. One, to say this is the other half of what we do, but really, I want to show you the numbers. Because when you think about Best Upon Request, we talk about culture, we talk about people, we talk about all the soft things that we impact, but we also drive results. We're a solutions-oriented organization. We focus on results. It's one of our values. And so this slide helps illustrate the work that we do. And so you can see this is an emergency department partner of ours where we have concierges working 7 days a week in an emergency department. Before Best Upon Request in 2016, our client had never had a top box score as compared to their peers, other hospitals that are of similar size. We engaged with them in 2017. So the 2017, 18, and 19 results, this is pre-pandemic data. Our time there in the trend chart that you're looking at, this is their actual trend, actual data for overall satisfaction. You can see that year over year, it posted a significant improvement. The box below the trend chart really highlights the difference that we made beyond just the trend. Before, they had never had a month where they had a top box score. In the 35 months that we served from really May 2017 through 2019, they were in a top box position 25 out of 32 months. And 12 of those were above the 90th percentile, meaning they went from below the 50th percentile to being in the 90th percentile half of the time. And so it's a significant improvement that our client in partnership with us was able to achieve. But again, it's to illustrate that the work we do drives results. And so it's exciting to be working with employers serving their employees and working with hospitals also serving their employees, but serving their patients and guests as they come into the hospital.
Bill, could you share with us what the head of nursing and the ED shared about this success?
Absolutely. I was meeting with the director of nursing for this emergency department, and she said, "You guys are my constant." She said, "I have 150 staff in my very busy ED, and that 150 people cover 24/7 on a schedule. And so they're in, they're out, they're working 10-hour shifts, 12-hour shifts. We have 3 people there." And she said, "Your 3 people covering the peak operating times of the emergency department 7 days a week, provide a consistent patient experience every time. I have 150 people seeing 200 people a day. You have 3 people seeing 200 people a day. And so you are my constant. You were the edge that got me over the hump to achieve these kinds of results."
I also appreciated how she said she wanted to ensure that we're part of the strategy meetings that she has so that we can ensure that we're part of the team, that we come alongside to enhance that experience with the care and the quality that they offer.
Mm-hmm. So as we transition to our message today, we want to reflect very quickly on last year. If you were in the conference last year when Tilly and I spoke, Tilly told her story. She told the immigrant story that shaped who she would become and ultimately the values that Best Upon Request would embody. And so we're a values-driven organization, and that's what we talked about. And those values drive our culture. I came in and sort of followed up Tilly's message with, let's talk about culture. Let's talk about what culture is. It's your horsepower. And so we talked about this paradoxical idea that if you can harness your horsepower, in order to do that, you have to free it. You have to unleash it. And so giving freedom, giving your individuals empowerment to be themselves and to perform at the highest level, to be on all the time, that's harnessing your culture. And so today is kind of a continuation of that. So let's look at this slide. Again, the subject today is resilience. When you see this image, you see a tree that's being blown by very, very, very strong forces, strong winds. And this isn't uncommon in business. We all go through challenges. We all have struggles that we have to deal with from time to time. But I think most of us are safe in saying that outside of an issue or something over the years that has been specific and unique to our business or our industry, we have faced what we faced in 2020 with the pandemic, when governments are telling companies you must close down or you must stop working or you must stay at home and figure out how to work from home. And so when that happened, certain businesses closed down. Some of us lost business, some of us lost clients, some of us lost people. So when you think about an organization, there's this strong force coming against it. The leaves represent all of the moving parts and the people in the organization. And every now and then in a strong wind, leaves will release. And those are losses that we experience when we're under pressure and when we're receiving strong external forces, strong winds. The trunk of the tree really represents the function of resilience. The trunk of the tree is where There's bending. The leaves are flapping. The trunk is bending. It is the trunk's ability to bend and then come back and sway in the wind that allows the tree to stay intact and healthy and retain most of its parts. The most important part of this picture isn't shown. It's the root system. The anchor that's holding that tree in place, the anchor that's allowing the trunk to bend without breaking, the anchor that's allowing the trunk to bend at all and to be able to bounce back. It's the roots that hold the position. It's the roots that keep us anchored. And so today we're going to be talking about what we're rooted in as an organization, because our rooting is what determines our resilience. So very briefly, let's talk about resilience. It's really a question, why resilience is one that doesn't need to be asked. It's very obvious. And so what I would say is, why resilience? Let's just look at 2020. In 2020, every one of us as individuals and every one of us as leaders in our organizations experienced one or more or all of the things on this slide. Each of us lost something. We lost a friend. We lost a family member. Some of us lost a few family members. Our businesses lost revenue, unless you were Amazon or related to Amazon in some way. Our businesses faced struggles. We lost the ability to socialize and interact in an office the way we normally had. At a minimum, last year, we lost what we would have called, or what we always called, normalcy. And so when we think about resilience, resilience is important because we're going to experience strong winds and storms, and we're going to experience losses. So how do we retain the core of our strength? How do we retain the majority of what we're about? How do we retain our identity, our people? How do we retain our companies?
The intersection of role clarity and soul clarity is organizational resilience. That's what we're anchored to. Role clarity is when each team member, each employee, each associate understands and is aware of what their accountabilities are and how they're going to energize their role with autonomy so that we can hit the target. Each of us have performance targets and goals that we want to achieve that help the organization be successful with high performance. That's our journey to excellence together. The soul clarity is the part that talks about how it's about our heart. And that drives the passion, the commitment, the extra 10% of what you're going to give to what you have as ownership to your role. So those two key components are what we're going to talk about here shortly. The first is organizational resilience. And these you all have to have as you're on the Baldr's journey. You understand how important it is to have things that tie in together to the system of including your policies, your philosophy, your systems and processes and controls, how you measure, what are the behaviors that are going to get you these types of results, on how you communicate, how your team feels like they are part of the journey. And it all really is based on the leadership that everyone performs and how they show up. So these standards are how we increase effectiveness. And so capturing the energy and the hearts of our people is through soul clarity. And so that's part of understanding your role. So our organizational structure that we use, and we're going to show you a diagram here shortly, is based on holacracy. And the role clarity is how we energize and how we equip our people. It's our ways and benefits of achieving the role clarity. We have a heuristic. A heuristic is how we decide when we're at the fork in the road, good over good or better over good. And so one of those is role ownership over being told what to do. We want people to be a sensor for the organization. And you're going to see more of that here shortly. It's how we're able to move fast and stay aligned. This next picture is on Glass Frog, and Glass Frog is a tool we use. It's in the cloud, and it indicates how our company is structured. We do not use the typical hierarchy where you have departments or leadership that is a command and control or command and demand. It's a different kind of structure than you typically see, which was initially formed from the military. Whereas this, there's a sense of unity through a circle structure. And the compass circle represents our leadership team. And inside that leadership team, each of us in the compass circle is a lead link for each circle represented here. And so you see the revenue circle, that is, Bill is our lead link for the revenue circle, which represents our marketing and sales team. Our service delivery circle is led by Chuck. Our business administration circle is led by Katie, who happens to be our VP of Finance and IT. Our culture and community circle is led by Natalie. And Jesse is part of the revenue circle. And so you'll see how each of us energizes different pieces to how the circle gets decentralized. In other words, this is the structure, and yet this decentralized management is very different than a command control. And so our organizational operating system brings a high level of clarity. It gives us a clarity of purpose to do the work of the business and the accountability for each role, and it distributes that authority, giving much more control to each person who is the censor for that domain that they have, whether it's service delivery, operations, revenue, sales. So this adoption took some time, but the beauty of this is that we have transparency where we can see our projects, our metrics. And so you can't hide in an organization that is so transparent like this. And it's easy to then do reorganizations, because as we start listening to the tensions of the organization, we're able then to work to find a workable solution. Soul clarity is about the person, and it's meeting people where they are to create an environment where they have emotional safety and there's trust, where we have a sense of purpose and there's flexibility, and each person is responsible and accountable and mature to be a leader. The tool we use is the Enneagram. You may have heard, of course, of other personality style, which Myers-Briggs, DISC. The Enneagram is the one that is so transformative. We've had people, when they get their results, actually cry because they note and are in awe of who they are. What are their strengths? What are the opportunities for improvement? Their OFIs. We talk about words and use words such as, how do you show up? Are you being resourceful or non-resourceful? And this tool gives us a great overview of how to coach. All 9 styles we have access to. And so that's part of the transformation journey. I love that in our organization, we have something that we call truth and grace, where we're able to talk about in a coaching manner. Here's the truth of how we observed behaviors, and here's the grace we offer to give other people a chance to improve. And so that journey of self-awareness and transformation is what builds resiliency and ego strength. And so it's a perspective that we have that really gives us a propensity to be really good at who we are and to have that understanding. So each of the 9 personality styles has a name, and we don't want to box anybody into that name, but the 3 is where I identify most, and that is the performer, about executing. What I love is the 2, which is in the heart center, which is about being the giver. And many of our concierges have that servant heart, and many of them are 2s. We use the Wagner and Enneagram personality style scales, the WEPs, as part of our onboarding. So we want to share a little bit with you about a reflection on 2020. The compass circle started meeting 2 times a day when we were in the lockdown. And amazing, last year when we spoke, that following Monday, we tested working from home for the corporate team. And it worked. And we haven't gone back. It's been an amazing journey of being able to be resilient in a new environment, our homes. The business decisions to the response of the pandemic was one of being grounded. Many times we would say we were meant for this. We are prepared for something like this. No one expected that, but it's how we responded. So one of the first things we did is we ensured that we were designated an essential business. Our concierges became essential workers to the essential workers. We had many conversations about how we were going to communicate. And boy, did we communicate. We knew that during a time of uncertainty, knowing that we could have a connection point was how people were going to feel safe and know that we had their back and had their interest in our hearts. And so we created a mission connection cadence where we did audio and videos and emails and phone calls, many ways to connect. Our At Our Best newsletter would go out with information. We sent out protocols and memos and provided PPE for our team members. I think it was really honorable when our corporate team, which we call the trellis, provided to the Vine, our concierges, our frontline workers, homemade care packages that included homemade masks when masks weren't available, plus some other little goodies to help people feel good about us as a company. I think one of the ways that we demonstrated sacrificial love to our team members, which was my personal theme last year, was when everyone was sent home and some of our clients suspended our service and people were scared because they didn't know if they were going to get paid. And we made the decision to go ahead and pay them, even though we as a company were not paid when we were suspended. And so that best pay coverage was critical in the very beginning for people to feel my company has my back. They truly care about who I am. And so some of these decisions were based then after a suspension. We were so grateful to receive the PPP loan so that we could bring people back from furlough. And these decisions were based on a true sense of caring. And so, Bill, if you could share how we did that and how we connected in a personal way.
We essentially had a two-prong attack to the pandemic. Obviously, we were now working from home as a corporate team, and there are about 30 of us in our corporate office or working from home now, and about 100 team members from Connecticut to California. So that kind of gives you the shape and size of our company and the distribution. We have people everywhere working individually or in groups of 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. And so when this all went down, we had to do 2 things. One, let's call our clients. We have to get on the phone. We have to understand, are we going to be able to continue to serve? Are they closing the doors temporarily? What is their situation? And then how do they feel about the concierge service continuing to come into the building, continuing to serve? And so we went through one by one, and that was a divide and conquer activity, primarily between myself and Chuck, our VP of client services, calling as many clients and having, as Tilly says, heart-to-heart conversations with them as quickly as we possibly could. Within a 1 or 2 day time frame, we called every single client. But the other thing was just as intentional, and it wasn't divide and conquer. I personally, Natalie, our VP of People and Culture, Chuck, our VP of Client Services, and Jordan and or Meredith, our directors of client services who are responsible for our teams, we got on the phone and we, as a group, called every single team member 1 by 1 or 2 by 2 or 3 by 3 if they're working in a group, but we called them and we gave them the opportunity to share with us their fears, their concerns. If we became vulnerable so that they might become vulnerable, and we shared with them, we don't have the answers right now. We don't know if you're going to be able to continue to work at this client because we can't find out for sure if we're going to be allowed to, because they don't know. what their status is. And so everybody was trying to figure out, am I essential or not? And we were doing the same thing. Can we continue to serve within our clients? And so we essentially just ask our team members, would you be patient with us? Would you give us the grace to figure this out and to sort it out? And we promise we will be in touch with you. But the main thing that we did was ask them, how are you? Our goal was to dispel fear. It was a time when the world was afraid. And our goal was to replace fear with intentionality. Our goal was to empower every single person to be intentional about their very next step in the next month, in the next 2 months, and so on. And so we were vulnerable so that they might be vulnerable. And we asked them, you don't have to tell us, but if you have underlying health conditions that are concerning you and you share that with us, we're going to honor that. We want to understand that. If you have family members, elderly parents, or if you have special needs children, we want to understand what your concerns are. We want to alleviate your fear and put you in a position of control. We focused on soul clarity. We decided, Tilly and I, our leadership team collectively decided we're going to focus on the soul right now, and we're going to empower our people. We made a bold and courageous move in that moment. We decided that when we call each person, we're going to ask them, are you able to continue working? We're going to give them the opportunity, and this was a huge risk for us, but we're going to give each and every person the opportunity to say, I need to sit on the sidelines for a while. And our commitment was, if someone opts out, we'll find a way to backfill that. We'll find a way to keep our commitments to our clients, but we must give our people the opportunity to say where they are in time and space right now, and to be able to equip them and empower them, just like we empower them in their role, empower them to be in charge of what they do as an individual, as a soul. And so we took that risk. We wouldn't have taken the risk if we didn't have the culture that demanded and required that risk, but it also gave us confidence that our people are going to do the right thing. And unless there's an underlying reason that they can't work, they're not going to sit on the sideline. They don't want to. They love what they're doing. And so we took the risk. It all worked out. It was unbelievable. We did lose some clients. We lost 4 clients during the pandemic. We lost $1.7 million in annualized revenue. And we had 7 different clients that were suspended or idled for a season. And so during that first 3 to 6 months of the pandemic, we had people who were furloughed. As Tilly said, the first few weeks, we paid them whether they worked or not. But after that, there were times when we were furloughed. And we had team members that we were calling and having very difficult conversations with them. There were some who were opting out. There were some who we were saying, we're sorry, we can't use you right now. We don't have work for you right now. And the client's going to suspend for several months. And so can you hang on? And we will work with you through the PPP loan and through the other benefits that were put in place by the government. We will make sure that there's a way for you to survive this time, but there's not work for you. So it was a very vulnerable time for us as a company and for some of our team members. But the courageous move to empower them to decide, to put them in charge, was one that we will never look back on with regret. And we're going to share the story of the results of that with you now.
I want to share that in the summer, we decided to provide a bonus to our frontline workers who were risking their health, going out to Costco, going to Walmart, picking up different items that were hard to find. And we decided to call it gratitude pay. And I had the opportunity to call or FaceTime, see their faces when I shared with them a special bonus just for them taking that risk. It was incredible. The response, the look in their eyes of feeling so appreciated, it went such a long way. And I was so pleased and grateful to be able to make those phone calls.
There's a parallel story that runs along with how we worked with our team members and how we focused on soul clarity. In May of 2019, we did our first ever Trust Index, which is the engagement survey of the Great Place to Work organization. It's a national certification. And so we decided we're big enough now, we're going to pursue this. We've been following it, attending the conferences for many, many years, but 2019 was the first time we ever pursued the certification and did the survey. And we were certified first time out. We were very proud of that. Then the pandemic hit in the spring of 2020, and we're in the first 3 months of this resilience test. And Natalie, our VP of People and Culture, comes to a meeting and says, guys, it's time to do our Trust Index survey for certification in 2020. Do we have the capacity to do this? And we're all going, oh my gosh, this is a terrible time to take an engagement survey. We've got people who have been off work and people we've had difficult conversations with, and this is not a good time. But you know what? We're going to stay the course. We're going to be committed to the trust index. We're going to be committed to the metrics that it provides us, and we're going to use those to make ourselves better. And so we fully expected, as any company would, to see our numbers tank. We even thought there's some risk that we won't be recertified in 2020 because this is the worst time in the world to ask people how they're feeling about anything. But we did it. We're pleased to be able to show you some of those results now. And I have to confess, this clicker that I have on my cell phone, it advances the slides. It's very difficult for me, and I just lost it, and I have to get it back. So pardon me.
So before we do that, Bill, we need to share some of the amazing concierges and our customers, what they thought about us during this time.
Yep. So the first picture here is a young lady. She's a concierge in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Her name is Bree. She serves about 1,000 people in an office building. And Bree, like every other concierge that is on our team, in the first 2 weeks of the pandemic, we became the toilet paper people. We were the only game in town who could find a carload of toilet paper for an office full of people. And what happened is our concierges decided this is not a good time, but I'm going to make it fun. Our concierges started posting things on social media. Their customers, the people who use the service, they started posting things on social media. I can't see the fine print on the screen. It's probably larger on your screen than mine, but hopefully you've had an opportunity to read the dialogue in this particular series of messages for this post. But ultimately, our people became heroes during this season.
And then this next one is really funny, but it shows Will Smith going to Costco. I'm going to Costco. And so this is like a satire in a movie called I Am Legend. And our customer texted this to our concierge and said, made me think of you. You're awesome. Mm-hmm. So there was an enormous amount of gratitude knowing that they were taking risks and doing the things that were impossible. And this one warms my heart because this is Angela. And Angela reached out to the community, to restaurants, to help provide food for the healthcare workers who were being the heroes to so many and who were sick and in the hospital. And so this is Angela. And Bill, I think you reminded me that the team who did this, they were on furlough at this time.
This was Angela is part of our ED team that we showed you the data for earlier. And when you're working in an emergency department as a concierge and a pandemic ensues, you're not going to be there for the first few weeks. And so there was a season where that team was furloughed. But what was amazing is they kept serving. They just sort of converted their emphasis, which is typically on patients and guests. Not even while they're working, they're going out to restaurants, picking up food and delivering it to the people they work alongside in the hospital. And so it was really just an extraordinary season for our people to shine and really show their soul while fulfilling their role.
And this picture shows how we were also able to help a lot of the medical teams with disinfectants and sanitizers. And so we scoured every store and online to provide the things that were necessary that were in short supply.
And Tilly, one of our concierges in Connecticut, in the hospital she was working in, by some miracle, she was able to secure 30,000 units of sanitizer to deliver to the clinicians at the hospital. And so some just really remarkable things happened when hospital sourcing couldn't get certain supplies. We were able to find them through retail outlets who were willing to give them to the hospital. So it was really just extraordinary the ways that our team members found ways to serve. I want to just read this to you. Some heroes wear medical scrubs. Others are teachers that continue to educate outside school walls. And then there are heroes like your employee concierges who take pride in making others' lives easier now, even when we're dealing with this pandemic. And for that, I'm grateful. This was a testimonial from a bank employee that we were serving. Again, the opportunity to be heroes to heroes is where we found ourselves. And so now we're going to transition, and I want to share the data with you. And I want to just really sort of set up. I've already talked about the trust index. The trust index asks very, very pointed questions about leadership, about the corporation, about how things are done. And it's really trying to measure, just by its name, it's trying to measure trust. And so, as I said, we were certified a second year in a row. These are the two top line summary metrics from our May 2020 survey. 94% of all of our people said that Best Upon Request is a great place to work. 93% of all of the other metrics cumulatively, that's the average of all of our other scores. There are many, many questions. I want to share some of those data points with you.
Bill, can you share what Tamara said to us when we were having a discussion about how to measure?
Yeah, thank you for reminding me. So when we were in conversation with Tamara before today, to prepare for today, she said to us, culture is so difficult to measure in the Baldrige journey. And I've worked in that space, and I know what it's like to pursue certifications and those kinds of things. And it's easy for maybe an auditor to surmise that there's a culture issue, but it's hard to measure. The trust index is our way of being super transparent in measuring our culture. And I think once you see some of this data, you'll agree that yes, it's a very accurate measure of culture. And so I've selected 8 categories. There are about 20 categories that multiple questions apply to. And then you get the summary data, and they've grouped it into things like caring and team and fairness and support. One of my favorites is leadership behavior, but the two I really want to draw your attention to today are the last two on the bottom right. Communication. It improved every single category of metric. In a season when our scores would have gone down, we would have expected them to go down. I would have bet they would go down. They went up. Every single score either stayed the same or went up. These are 8 of probably 16 that increased. And communication went up by 9 percentage points. The inner circle, the purple, is 2019. The outer circle is 2020. So we improved by 9 percentage points in 2020. But the one that's really exciting is collaboration. It went up by 10 percentage points. I believe it's because we called our people and collaborated with them about their soul. How are you feeling right now? What are your concerns? What can we do for you? How can we help you? And are you comfortable to continue, or do you need to sit on the sideline for a season? I'm going to share some of the questions with you very briefly. Pardon me. These are categorized by what Tilly described as soul clarity keys. These are the drivers of soul clarity. So the first one is emotional safety or trust. Again, being vulnerable and allowing people to be vulnerable back, because that's how you get to this place of trust. And so I want to focus on the first and the last question on this page. I believe management would lay people off only as a last resort. I mean, that's a tough question. That's a very pointed question to put out to your people through a third party. 100% in 2020 of our people. This is at a time when we've got people furloughed, and they're answering the question, 100% of them, we would only lay people off if it was a last resort. And that was an increase from 97% to 100%. The last question on there, I can ask management any reasonable question and get a straight answer. 78 to 92%, a 14 percentage point increase. Tilly and I were talking earlier, the 78, sometimes people don't really know you until they have an opportunity to observe you in a crisis. And so I often say to our concierges in training class, when I have an opportunity to spend some time with them, how you recover when you mess up determines your success in many cases. Well, we didn't really mess up, but we had a score of 78. We weren't really happy when we saw that in 2019. We didn't do anything different other than be the same people leading through a very challenging time, and our score went up by 14 percentage points.
And Bill, I think that's a testament to your true colors. They come out during times of challenge and adversity.
The next set of questions are community, and I want to focus on the second question here. I'm given the resources and equipment to do my job. As Tilly said, we sent care packages out. We immediately called our team members and said, "Hey, we've set aside a budget for you in particular to go out and purchase the things that you need to be safe. Masks, hand sanitizer, various things, gloves, whatever you need, go purchase it immediately." And we did this before the lockdown because we were anticipating their needs.
I do like that first statement, though. The corporate team responds to my needs, an increase of 16 points.
Yep, pretty amazing. The next one is higher purpose. And I love the answers to these. I feel I make a difference here. We were at 92% before. This should be a goal for every Baldrige person, every Baldrige company that's on that journey. You should be working toward people having purpose in their job and feeling as though they make a difference. And then look at the second question. My work has special meaning. This isn't just a job. 95% of Best Upon Request team members say that this isn't just a job for them. And then under flexibility, I'm able to take time off work when I think it's necessary. 95% of our people agree with that statement. And people here quickly adapt to changes needed for our organization's success. This is another one of those where they don't really know you until they see you manage through a time of crisis. And so we went from 80 to 94, a 14-point increase, simply because we showed compassion and we showed resilience. We demonstrated that their input mattered, how they felt mattered, and empowering them to help us change and dynamically steer through a very difficult time.
I think one of our messages that really resonated was, we got this. We can get through this. We are going to get through this. And we became beacons of hope for people.
Mm-hmm. And then finally, leadership. I love this one. Management shows a sincere interest in me as a person, not just an employee. 94%, a 9-point increase. Management is approachable, easy to talk with, a 7-point. Management involves people in decisions that affect their jobs or work environment, a 14-point increase. Management keeps me informed about issues and changes, a 16-point increase. Again, and I'm sorry if I don't mean to sound boastful, we were blown away. We were anticipating these numbers going down because we had people that were being furloughed at the very hour that we're taking the survey. And so it's unbelievable how our behaviors and our intentional actions drove this kind of result.
I think part of the keeping people informed is we would tell them, and then we would tell them that we're going to tell them, and then tell them we told them. And it was in many ways of communication. And I think one of the neatest one was how they received via text, if they would opt in, our videos. So where they're on the go, they don't have to be in front of their laptops. They would be able to watch our videos on their phones.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of video, so we've talked a lot about our people. We have amazing people. We hire right. That was one of the points from last year, by the way. But we have amazing people who understand role clarity and soul clarity, and their souls showed up. And so one day, right in the midst of all this battle, in March or April of last year, a CEO of a physician group called me and he said, "Bill, Beth," that's the concierge assigned to that account, our physicians are concerned about asking Beth to do anything. They're afraid that they're putting her in harm's way because she's going into the stores for them. She's doing things for them that they don't really want to do for themselves, but they don't want to ask her to do that. What should we do? And I said, let me call you back. Well, I had already been on the phone with Beth, as had many of us. And I called Beth and I said, Beth, talk to me. How are you feeling? You have any concerns? Any at all? And when she assured me that she didn't, that's when I shared with her, here's what's going on. So can I ask a favor of you? Could you video yourself and then allow me to share that with the physicians you serve? I'm going to send it over to the CEO. He's going to email it out to the organization. Here's the video. Can you roll the video, please?
Hi, my name is Beth Andrews, and I'm the concierge for PriMed Physicians, just in case we haven't met yet. But I wanted to make a short message today letting you know that I am here to be serving you during these times. There have been a few comments questioning whether my ability to run errands right now is a safe choice. And I just want to reassure you that when things started unfolding about 3 to 5 weeks ago, that Best Upon Request came to me and asked me if, how comfortable I was out running errands. How comfortable am I serving the physicians at PriMed? And I was given the option to opt out, to not be out and about. And I refused. I said, absolutely not. Like, these are, I care about you. I am honored to work for you. You are on the front lines right now. This is like mission work for me to be able to serve you while you are serving others. And so there's absolutely no way that I'm going to suspend services right now for you. So just to let you know that I am here for you. I am following safety measures when I'm out and about. Some of you have generously given me PPE. Best Upon Request has provided PPE for me. So I am covered with that, and I'm taking all the necessary precautions as I'm out running errands and doing services for you. We've made a few adjustments. Auto services have been suspended so that I'm not in your personal space in your vehicle. I'm no longer doing services in your home. So your groceries are getting dropped off at your front door or possibly in the refrigerator at your office for you. But other than that, I'm still out here looking for those hard to find items, sanitizing wipes, no longer toilet paper and paper towels. Those are back in stock. Still looking for sanitizer and rubbing alcohol, things like that. And when I find them, I grab them so that I have things available for you. So I just want to reassure you that I'm here because I choose to be. I want to be. I'm honored and happy to be here for you, to help support you during these times. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me. And, we're in this together, right? That's what they're saying. We're in this together. So I am provided to you by PriMed Physicians, but I'm powered by Best Upon Request.
Can I just drop the mic and say that is resilience? That is what every organization, that's what each of us should be striving for. Every time I watch that video, my eyes water. And I'm being transparent and vulnerable with you right now that I was about to cry. Every time I watch it, it has the same effect on me, because that's what makes a leader get up and get out of bed in the morning, is the opportunity to see people engage, to see people love their job, to see people perform at a high level, to imagine that we have people, and Beth is representative of about 100 people who have the same qualities, the same heart, and to imagine that they would say to their customers, this is mission work for me to serve you. That's what we live for. That is also resilience. Tilly.
So our call to action to each and every one of you is to consider what you are doing in your organization to provide that clarity for your team members, your associates, your employees, to have role clarity and soul clarity. And when I think about what Beth said, we're all in this together, that was our message. And she reiterated that message. And so that is our message to you. That heart that she shared with her customers permeates through our culture. And so clarity is charity. Charity is love. You can see how she has customer love, how we have expressed the love to our teams, to our employees, our team members. And so with that, we've gone through a battle and we've been in it together. and our true colors have shown. And Bill's going to wrap up with a story about another battle and how they overcame.
Thank you, Tilly. So back in the summer of 2020, everybody's talking about resilience, and I had the opportunity to hear the commander of the USS Cole. The USS Cole was a guided missile destroyer, United States guided missile destroyer that was harbored for fueling in the harbor of Yemen in October 2000. And you see the picture here. The ship was suicide bombed by a small boat that approached the ship, and it blew up, and it blew a crater-sized hole in the side of the ship. I had the opportunity to hear Commander Kirk Leopold speak about what happened that fateful day, how when the bomb went off and the ship started taking on water, the inside of the ship imploded. And so you couldn't go from one end of the ship to the other. In my mind, I'm thinking the ship would have went down in 2 or 3 minutes, and it was taking on water quickly. And had he and the crew not acted quickly, it would have sunk the ship and drowned many, many sailors. A few, I think 17 died, 37 people were injured. And in the moments after the bombing, you can imagine the chaos. You can imagine the alarms going off. You can imagine all of the things that were happening. And he described this in great detail, Commander Leopold. He described how in the hours after there was some sense of stability, they immediately started getting the injured and the dead off of the ship onto small ferry boats who would take them back to land and get them to a hospital or get them airlifted out. And we saw some video of all that happening, but he talked through all these leadership principles and all of the things that he and the crew did in the days following. But after the ship was stable and they were making plans to finalize the stability and then tow the ship back to the United States from the Yemeni harbor, DC, people back stateside, sent the commander in charge of Commander Leopold. He came to the ship and he said, you got to send about half these troops home. You got to send the sailors home because the parents on stateside, they need their people home. The phone is ringing off the hook in Washington, basically. So we need to get some of these people home. You're stable. You can do without them. Let's get them home. Keep what's necessary to get the ship back home. Let everybody else out of here. Commander Leopold described how he pushed back, and he said, are you telling me or are you asking me? And his commander in charge said, well, I'm asking you to do it. And Commander Leopold refused. And he talked about there were emotions on the ship. The crew knew what had just happened. They knew that he had said, we're staying together. And so a couple of days later, they're hooked to a tugboat, and this big missile-guided destroyer with a crater-sized hole in the side is being towed from the harbor. Commander Leopold ordered that every sailor put on their dress uniform and be on deck when that wounded, crippled ship leaves the harbor. And he described that as they're being towed out, pulled by a little ship, the Yemeni Navy has their boats lined up, and the Yemeni sailors are looking at this wounded, crippled ship with wounded, crippled sailors, and they're saluting the United States of America as they're being towed from the harbor. He said it was in that moment that he looked at the first mate and he said, play the song. And he said on the loudspeakers on the exterior of the boat, as loud as it could possibly play in its wounded state, they blared the national anthem, bum, 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 bum. And he said, every sailor on that boat in that moment knew this is why we're here. We're Americans. We are proud of who we are. We're wounded. We're crippled. We've got a hole in the side of our ship, and we're going home, not of our own power, but of a little boat taking us out to a carriage ride on a bigger boat. And they would be loaded up and hauled home on a ferry. They could have been humiliated, but they endured, and they stayed the course until the end. And Commander Leopold said this. He said, there is dignity in endurance. It's not about winning and losing and losses. It's about enduring. I hope that what Tilly and I have shared with you today speaks to you about how important your culture is. Culture is tangible. It's not a warm and fuzzy. It's all about intentionality, and it's all about your people and understanding them and giving them the opportunity to have complete ownership. And if you can do that, when you weather storms like what we've weathered, you can come out the other side and you're going to have dents and you're going to have crater-sized holes in certain aspects of your company, but you can have pride and dignity, and you can survive and live to fight another day. So thank you for allowing us to share today. Tilly's going to wrap us up.
So each of us have gone through a battle, personal battle of fatigue, isolation, organizational losses. And so I want to encourage you to be strong and to be of good courage. Courage, the root word of courage is corazón, cor, which is the heart. And we've talked a lot about heart today. And so this is my battle cry, and it was my battle cry all last year. And I would say often, we're not afraid. We were born to do this. And who said that in battle? St. Joan of Arc. She said, I am not afraid, for God is with me. I was born for this. Thank you, everyone.